Hello YouTube friends, happy Halloween weekend. Welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited to be here with you today, and I'm very excited about this upcoming video. It is for one of my favorite people, which is one of my littles, my eldest, who made me a mama, and I'm very excited about that. The other thing I'm super excited about is this is his Halloween costume this year, but not only is it his, it was first my husband's. So, story time. Um, about a year ago, my eldest saw a picture of my husband in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costume that he had worn when he was about the same age. And it sparked all of this wonderful enthusiasm and excitement. My mother-in-law, who is amazing, went through old boxes and went on a search and ended up finding the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shell from the costume that my father-in-law made for my husband. She graciously brought it over, and one thing led to another, and here we are, making a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costume. Luckily for me, the hardest part, the turtle shell, has already been done. So for this particular make, it's going to be pretty simple. We're going to be making a green jumper for his green turtle skin. We're going to be making some elbow pads and a mask as well. Now my little one wants to be Donatello, which is the purple mask, because that's what his dad was, and he thinks his dad is pretty rockin', and I've got to say I agree. The only difference between the two of them is my little one doesn't want the staff that Donatello normally carries. He wants swords. So that's what we're going to go with, because it's all about what kids want and what's in their brain and their excitement on this really awesome day, which is Halloween. So we're going to start by cutting out a basic jumper pattern and getting that sewn up, and then we're going to start working on the smaller fine points and the details. So pattern cutouts to start, and then I'll meet you guys right back here for a little bit of sewing and some tips and tricks on putting together a basic kiddo's jumper. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are on day 2 of our heritage costume make. We've got the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shell hanging back here that my father-in-law made. I've got the pattern cut out for the jumper here on the table, and I've got a couple pictures pulled up on my tablet for a bit of inspiration. So let's get started on getting this put together. Something I really like to do, instead of simply cutting out my pattern pieces and cutting all of these notches into them, is to in fact leave the pattern pieces on top of the cutout pieces I've already done, especially if I'm not going to be sewing something up right away the same day that I perhaps cut out the pattern in the paper or in the fabric itself. And in doing that, by keeping everything together, I can remember exactly how it's supposed to be laid out, which pattern this goes with, etc. And it prevents me from having to do a lot of work, extra work, cutting out all these little notches. It also gives me a little bit of leeway, I feel, in adjusting the size of a pattern. If I create little notches all along the sides everywhere, I have to sew a seam allowance that is at least as deep as the notch that I cut. And I could be really good about making tiny little notches, but I'm probably not that great at it, which means that as my kiddos grow, or as I might grow or shrink myself, I don't really have as much wiggle room to adjust things if I do that. So by avoiding cutting the notches but leaving the pattern piece on, I can see where things need to be put together on the patterns without actually having to do that. Okay, so for our pattern, I have the front and the back panels cut out. I've got the sleeves pushed over to the side. I don't need them just yet. I have the front panel here, the back panel here, and I kind of wanted to show you guys how you would potentially put this together. There's 2 different ways And one way is that you can put the outside seam together first and then do the center crotch seam and then the inside seam. One of the other ways to do it is to first pin together the bottoms of the legs on the inside. So this is the inside of the leg, of the back panel to the front panel, and you just pin it here, sew it up. And then you would do the same thing on the other side, pin and sew. And then you would mark out where you want to have your zipper go into the front of your jumper. Now this is going to be where like the zippers are going to go. This is the back panel, sorry, front panel. It's right here, which seems odd because this is currently on the inside kind of loop. This is going to be your crotch seam. So you would mark out where you want your zipper, and then after these were sewn together, you would pin these together, making sure that your two leg seams match up down here. And so from where you want your zipper to start, or the base of your zipper, and so one continuous stitch all the way up here. Once you've done that and you have that, you can either leave your pins in where the zipper is going to go, or you can even just do some quick basting stitches to keep it all together. And then this is where the magic happens. This is where it goes from being a strange block of fabric to actually having a jumper. You just take one piece and you fold it up over the top, shake it down, and voila, you have two little legs and then the top of the jumper. And then up here is where our sleeves are going to come out here, and this is the neckline and zipper. So inside of the legs first, then the crotch seam, and then these outside seams all the way up the sides. All right, let's get stitching. Okay, so this particular side is the front of our jumper, and I'm marking out where I want the zipper to go, and then I'm going to put this double line of pins here from the top of the neck to where the base of the zipper is going to go. I'm going to do a very wide stitch, just a basting stitch to hold that fabric together where the zipper would otherwise be. And then once I get to where I've double marked with my pins where the base of the zipper will be, I will make a standard size stitch with a 1/8 or a 2, and then go ahead and follow that line all the way around to the back to make sure that the rest of that seam is nice and secure. And then when I'm ready to put my zipper in, I'll actually leave that basting stitch in place initially, fold over my edges, sew my zipper into place, and then I can just quickly rip out those basting stitches and the zipper is in place just like magic. So that's what I'm doing here. I am going to go ahead and add that wider stitch here and the narrow stitch here, and then I'll meet you guys back in a minute. Gently follow the seam down and open it up. Making sure I don't go through the fabric at all. I don't want to rip open the fabric, but I'm just going to follow these little seams. If I give it a kind of a gentle little tug upward, the seams are going to reveal themselves. It's going to prevent me from ripping the fabric. All right. And voila. Hey guys, we are of our TMNT kids costume. It is after bedtime. My girls are asleep. I am officially in comfy clothes. Now you can kind of see, actually, before I even get the other side stitched on, you can see the magic of the way this type of sleeve works, this athletic cut sleeve or baseball sleeve. So I've sewn it into the top here. And then what I can do on my next is I can follow this stitch all the way down and all the way along the side. So because the sleeve has been attached to the top of the jumper or the chest portion of it already, and it's nice and smooth, I don't have to try and put like a sleeve tube and stuff it into a hole and hope that the shoulder is correct without any puckering or gathering or lumps or bumps. This is going to be all perfectly straight and smooth, and I can just do one long continuous seam that goes from the cuff of the arm all the way down to the outside heel of the foot, which is kind of fun. And for the knee pads and elbow pads that are traditional for the Ninja Turtles, I've pulled up a picture here. They are very simple. So I think we're just going to do exactly what the pictures look like. We're not going to get crazy. We're not going to get fancy. Elbow pads and knee pads. Almost like volleyball pads, to be honest, is what they kind of look like. So straight strips of fabric, I think, make squares, make the little lines, stuff them maybe with a little bit of pillow stuffing, and then get them put around the back very, very simply. Hello my YouTube friends, I am on hopefully our last day of working on our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costume today. I'm just at the very last little bits of the costume that for me I find take the longest. Getting the bigger pieces of costumes done for me tends to be actually really easy. The pattern, you cut it out and you get the first little bit sewn together and it comes to life. It starts to take shape. It's really easy. And then I get to these last little bits and they're small finicky bits, and while I know they're very fun for for many people, for me they're just the hardest parts to get done, because like I've gotten the big part done and I'm ready, my brain starts to chew on other projects that I want to do, which is not great, but I have sometimes a hard time getting through the last day. But today I really want to get this done because I want to be able to get him into it. He's really excited about this costume and I want to get some reveal shots done and really see how things are turning out. So we're going to start working on these. This one right here, I've got the pad for our turtle. In the cartoons, they have like elbow pads and knee pads. So I've got some of those to get done here. I had him try on the jumper earlier. I've got the wrists and the ankles marked.
so I know where to hem these, and the hem will just go on really fast, super easy. The width on it turned out to be great because I had nipped it in just a little bit at the sides, so we'll just start getting these all hammered out and try to get this last little bit done. And then we can start working on our next fun project. So for the pads, what I've done is I have, for the elbow pads, I cut out smaller rectangles. For the knee pads, slightly larger rectangles. In the cartoon images, each of them are just rectangles, but then they have like 3 little lines. So here it is 1 line, 2 line, 3 line. I sewed those, and then I just briefly stuffed them with just a tiny bit of batting to kind of make them a little puffy and make them look like the cartoons. I also went ahead and made these little strips. These are going to be to go around the back of the leg and around his arm. And the way that I want to do it to kind of tuck it in is I've got my 2 pieces of fabric laid down flat, right sides together. But one of the things you can do is you sneak in your strap right along the center where you want it to lay, and then pin it in place. And then when you go through and you flip your pad inside out, this will be your little strap that goes around their little ankle or arm will be nicely tucked in here. And then for this other side, what we'll do is on the side with the seam, I'll put a small piece of Velcro, and then it can go around just like that, and it'll look great. Easy peasy. And then they can also take their elbow pads and knee pads off. And then with my 2 pieces together and the strap down the center, I'm just going to go ahead and first I'm going to trim my corner to make sure it comes out nicely. These are the scissors I want. Those are terrible scissors. Snips. Make sure everything clips nicely for me. Cutting in, and I'm cutting in, but I'm always making sure that I'm not cutting all the way to the seam. And that's really important, because if you do, obviously you'll potentially cut through the seam, and then you have a weak point. You want your corners to be turned nicely, but you don't want to make sure they're ruined. So I went ahead and gave it a good tug. And I can get my hands, if it was smaller, you know, I could always use my end of a ruler or something to kind of push it out, but otherwise just push that out, and voila! Like magic, beautifully, nicely secured, and I've got a nice little knee pad here.